Hello and welcome to this Excel tutorial. Today I will be showing you 5 different examples of how to use the SUMPRODUCT function. Before we get started, please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, either by clicking the subscribe button on my homepage or by using a link that will be appearing in this video. Let's get started. So the first example I'm going to show you is completely manual. And what we're going to do is we're going to create the arrays ourselves. And we do that by using curly brackets. All will be revealed shortly. So we type in SUMPRODUCT and we press curly brackets. And then opens up our first array. And in our first array, we're going to have simply 5 ones. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And notice they're separated by commas. And then we're going to close our array by using another set of curly brackets, and then press comma. And then we're going to create our second array, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that is our second array created. And then if we just press enter, what will happen is the SUMPRODUCT function will times the first part of the first array with the first part of the second array, the second part of the first array with the second part of the second array, and so on and so forth until it reaches the end. And when it does, it will print out the value. And in this case, it is 15. But just to let you know that the arrays always have to be the same size. So notice we had 5 parts in the first array and 5 parts in the second array. If I were to change that, and let's say we had 4 parts in the first array and 5 parts in the second array, you will get an error message here. You'll get hashtag value. So arrays must be the same size. So let's get rid of that error. And let's move on to the second example. So for the rest of these examples, I've created a sort of mini table here. We've got category A1, B2 and C3. We've got a subcategory A, B, C, D and E. We've also got number of units, the unit price in pounds, and that will be the table we'll be using our next examples from. So our second example, what I've done is I've used this SUMPRODUCT function at its most basic level. I've literally gone, one array is one number, a second array is a second number, and so what it does is it multiplies the first array by a second array, so you get essentially a multiplication. In this case, it's 1 times by 2.5, and I've copied that all the way down. And what that'll do is that will, that's a basic simple multiplication. And if you wanted to get the sum of all these values of these goods that were purchased, you'd have to sum up our second example and have the sum somewhere on this page, probably at the bottom. Whereas in our third example, you can bypass this second example altogether, and you can just multiply this. You can just highlight this as one array, this as a second array, and you'll get this number without having to do the sum of individual items. And how it works is, so if I just go through this with you, you just go number of units as one array, unit price as a second array, and press enter, and you'll get straight sum of everything. Because what it does is it iterates through the array, multiplying the first value for the first array, the first value for the second array, and so on and so forth, all the way down until it reaches the end, and then it prints out the value. So that's a really quick way of doing the sum of a long list. The fourth example is using the SUMPRODUCT function as a replacement for the SUMIF or the SUMIFs function. So what we're going to be doing is creating criteria within the SUMPRODUCT function. And what I've got here on the right are sort of 2 boxes which are labeling our criteria that we want to select within this table. So how we go about it is if we type in SUMPRODUCT, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to have one array, and what we're going to do is we're going to have brackets separating each criteria. So the first criteria we want is category. So I will select array, and then I'll put equals, and then I'll click on the category we want, in this case B2, and then I'll close brackets, and instead of pressing comma, I'll press multiply. And then what I'll do is I'll open brackets again, ready for the second criteria, which in this case is subcategory. And I'll put equals, and then I'll link it to the cell below subcategory, in this case A. And then I'll close brackets again. And then in our final set of brackets, I will actually put what we want to have as our sort of final result. And in this case, I will put the number of units. And then I'll close brackets, and then I'll close the sum product function, and I'll press enter, and we'll get 2. So what we've got here is one array, but we've used it to create some sort of based upon criteria by using multiply within the single array. And what makes this so powerful is that we can very quickly change the criteria. So instead of B2, let's say we want C3, and it changes very quickly, or A1. Or instead of A, we want B in B2. And that is what makes the SUMPRODUCT function so powerful. Our final example is when we're sort of using it as a sort of sum again, but in a different way. So here we've got 2 dashes instead of sort of, maybe an extra array or in front of the first array. And what the dashes do is the first dash converts the Boolean into a 0 or a -1, but we want our value to be positive, so we've used a second dash which converts it to a 0 or a +1. And so let me just run through you an example very quickly. So if we type in equals SUMPRODUCT, and we have our dashes in our first array, and then we open our first array. In this case, let's use subcategory. And then we type in equals, and then we're going to type in A this time rather than linking it to a cell which labels the criteria. And then we're going to close the brackets, and then we're going to press comma, and our second array, let's say, will be the unit price. And then we're going to close it again and press enter, and we'll get 14.48. And if we wanted to, we could also shift this along to create the number of units instead, which is 9. So those are 5 different ways of using the SUMPRODUCT function. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.